Scorpion, Sub-Zero, the deadliest of enemies and arguably the greatest rivalry in gaming history. We all know the story, and we've all picked our side, but it's about time that after nearly 35 years, we learn the truth behind this great feud. Hello my fellow oddities, today we'll be looking at every single time Scorpion and Sub-Zero have fought in all official Mortal Kombat media and seeing who has won the most. And when I say all, I mean the games, the movies, the TV shows, the comics, hell, even the damn trailers. This will be the definitive ruling of this rivalry's winner. Now, the only thing to preface is that these must be real fights. If Scorpion suddenly pops in, blasts Sub-Zero with a fireball, and then disappears, that will not count towards his record. Both fighters must at least attempt a strike on each other. And without further ado, it's time to put this feud to rest. Until the next Mortal Kombat thing releases. Starting with the games, the first chronological fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero is at the very beginning of Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero. Though, seeing as they're both the best fighters out of their rival clans, they've probably fought before, this is just the first time that we know of. The player controls this fight as Sub-Zero, so the competitiveness of it depends on how good you are at the game. But ultimately, there is one winner, and that is Sub-Zero, as he defeats Scorpion, or at this point he's more so Hanzo, and kills him with a spine rip.
Sub-Zero wins.
The next time they fight is later in the same game, when Sub-Zero first arrives in the Netherrealm to take back the amulet he stole and gave to Quan Chi, potentially resulting in the destruction of Earth. Oopsies. He battles the now resurrected spectre of his previous opponent, Scorpion. However, even in his own domain, with his new abilities, Sub-Zero is still too much for Scorpion at this point, and he is victorious again.
Sub-Zero wins.
Sub-Zero does his thing, saving the world, you know, goat stuff, and then he's invited to the Mortal Kombat tournament on Shang Tsung's island. They have a small scuffle on the boat here, however I will not be counting this as a real fight, as no blows are exchanged. But they do have their third fight later on the island, where Scorpion finally takes his first dub against an albeit unguarded Sub-Zero.
Scorpion wins.
And it's a common misconception, propagated by MK9 mostly, that Scorpion kills Sub-Zero during the tournament as a tournament match, but actually they don't fight until the island begins collapsing after Liu Kang beats Goro, hence why Sub-Zero isn't prepared. But regardless, the score is 2-1 between Bi-Han and Scorpion in favor of Bi-Han, and that's where their specific rivalry ends. But as we all know, MK2 would introduce Kuai Liang as Sub-Zero, so we certainly have more to cover. They wouldn't fight in MK2 or 3, in fact Scorpion would act as an ally to this Sub-Zero, but during MK4, Quan Chi would lie and tell Scorpion that Kuai Liang tracked down and killed his family, not Bi-Han. This sends Scorpion into a rage, he finds Sub-Zero, and canonically, he defeats him. However, we're counting everything, which means every outcome, canonical or not, so I'm going to give them both a win, as in each of their endings, they win this fight. In Sub-Zero's ending, after defeating the Spectre, Quan Chi appears and begins yapping about how he made a deal with Scorpion to free him from the Netherrealm that because it's Quan Chi, he had no intention of fulfilling. Scorpion hears this and absolutely decimates him. The two ninjas make up and live happily ever after, I guess.
Sub-Zero wins.
In Scorpion's ending, the canonical one, he defeats Sub-Zero, but once again Quan Chi just has to run his mouth and tell Scorpion that he was the true killer of his family and clan. He tries to send Scorpion away to the Netherrealm, but Scorpion grabs him last second and takes Quan Chi down there with him.
Scorpion wins.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero would then mostly go down their separate paths, Sub-Zero joining the Defenders of Earth and dealing with Frost and Noob Saibot, while Scorpion would endlessly search for revenge, becoming a champion for the Elder Gods, and then lash out at them after they restore his family and clan as undead specters like him. But the two would meet again, fittingly for the final battle of Armageddon. We see them fight in the intro, Sub-Zero with the forces of light, Scorpion with the forces of darkness, but we don't see the result until the next game. We know Sub-Zero won this fight, as you can see his quarry blade and Scorpion's corpse, while Sub-Zero is shown to have been killed by Baraka. How do you beat Scorpion but lose to Baraka? What the fuck?
Sub-Zero wins.
Now visiting the spin-off DC crossover, MK vs DC, Scorpion does attack Sub-Zero in the graveyard, but Liu Kang fights Scorpion instead as a sign of trust towards the Cryomancer. Later on, after defeating Batman, Sub-Zero is dragged into the Netherrealm by Scorpion, where they fight, but this is actually a ploy by Quan Chi, as the intensity of their battle frees him from his shackles in hell. Sub-Zero comes out as the winner in this one though.
Sub-Zero wins.
Moving on to MK9, Scorpion and Sub-Zero actually battle in the trailer for this game on the pit. They're actually in a tag team match with Scorpion tagging with Melina and Sub-Zero tagging with Jax. And Scorpion absolutely demolishes him. In fact, Sub-Zero doesn't land a single strike in this whole sequence before being finished, with Kano's fatality for some reason.
Scorpion wins.
They have a much more competitive fight in Kratos' trailer, but Scorpion still wins, though this time Kratos does steal his kill.
Scorpion wins.
But back to the canon story, during the island tournament, Scorpion is pursuing a challenge against Sub-Zero, once again back to Bi-Han, for his entire chapter, demanding that he face the Cryomancer. However, Raiden promises that if he spares Sub-Zero, who is destined to become Noob Saibot if he were to die, that he'd request that the Elder Gods restore the Shiryu, cause that went so well last time. Damn Raiden, I thought those visions let you see what happened in the previous timeline. Scorpion would agree and almost hold his end of the deal, but after defeating Bi-Han, Quan Chi shows him visions of the death of his clan, and Scorpion can't hold back, killing Bi-Han.
Scorpion wins.
Like the original timeline, Kuai Liang would take up the mantle of Sub-Zero, but unlike the original, Kuai would seek revenge against Scorpion for the death of his brother. During the Outworld tournament, Sub-Zero would show up, defeat Reptile as a bit of a formality, and then receive his wish to battle Scorpion, and he would be victorious, but before he could get the kill, he would be captured by the Cyber Lin Kuei.
Sub-Zero wins.
That's it for MK9, and now on to arguably the most iconic battle between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the MKX trailer. This trailer featured Scorpion and Sub-Zero in their new designs facing off in the snowy Dead Wood stage. The fight is back and forth, with both getting their licks in, using the environment, their abilities. It's one of the best choreographed MK fights in my opinion, but Scorpion is always sorta one step ahead, and he takes the win, killing Sub-Zero with the Who's Next fatality.
Scorpion wins.
Onto the actual game, they only fight once, and this is when both have already been restored from their undead forms, Sub-Zero a Revenant and Scorpion a Spectre. Sub-Zero invites Scorpion to the Lin Kuei Temple to tell him the truth about his family's death, but Scorpion is understandably hesitant, and his fears are seemingly validated when Frost attacks. Scorpion then battles Sub-Zero and wins, but Sub-Zero insists that he didn't call him here to fight, and instead shows him how Sector and Quan Chi work together to orchestrate his family and clan's destruction. The two make up, and that's how the greatest rivals in MK history also became the greatest allies.
Scorpion wins.
But they would find a way to make them fight in MK11 as well. After the time merger, the old Spectre Scorpion would return. But when he meets the present-day Hanzo, he convinces him to join the good side, unfortunately as his last action because D'Vorah kills him with her poison. The past Scorpion then goes to the Fire Garden where the Earthrealmers are stationed, and Sub-Zero shows up immediately on alert, especially after hearing about Hanzo's death, and then they fight, with Scorpion winning.
Scorpion wins.
And that brings us to the most recent game, Mortal Kombat 1, where Scorpion and Sub-Zero are the two brothers, Kuai Liang and Bi-Han. Working for Liu Kang, they're sent by the Fire God to the Ying Fortress to destroy Shang Tsung and Quan Chi's Soul Stealers. While there, Bi-Han is convinced by Shang Tsung to join their side and take control of Earth with an iron fist, restoring the Lin Kuei's quote-unquote honor. Kuai Liang battles his brother for the betrayal, and even though he's scarred across his eye, he defeats Sub-Zero and escapes.
Scorpion wins.
And that's it for the games. Honestly, they don't fight as much as I thought they did, especially in the original timeline. But now let's move on to the movies, starting with The Journey Begins. Here, Raiden is explaining the backstory of Scorpion and Sub-Zero's rivalry, where the Lin Kuei and Shiryu would have their fighters battle to see who trained the best warriors, and this was an Outworld for some reason. In this fight, if that's what you want to call this abomination, both are evenly matched, but Sub-Zero shows a cunning that allows him to outsmart Scorpion, freezing and shattering him.
Sub-Zero wins.
The two then never fight in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, which is kinda crazy, but they do in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. While Liu Kang and Kitana are searching for Nightwolf, they are attacked by Cyber Smoke and need to be saved by Kuai Liang. Scorpion then shows up, and the two fight in admittedly an okay fight for this movie's standards. They battle on a pit-like bridge created by Sub-Zero's ice that is cracking under their weight. The two are fairly evenly matched, with Sub-Zero having the early advantage, but Scorpion coming on strong late. They do a lot of flips, kicks, and there's a lot of slow motion. It's an annihilation fight. But Scorpion does end up taking the win here as a kick leaves Sub-Zero dangling over a river of lava. But Scorpion takes the opportunity to teleport Kitana away, capturing her for Shao Kahn.
Scorpion wins.
That takes us to the first MK animated film that isn't an abhorrent violation of my eyes and ears, Scorpion's Revenge. There is the beginning of this movie where Sub-Zero kills Scorpion, but firstly, this is actually Quan Chi, and also it's not really a fight, he just freezes and kills him. They have a real battle later in the film against the real Sub-Zero, while Scorpion is helping out the heroes against the Black Dragon. They fight quite briefly, honestly, on the pit stage. It's competitive early with Sub-Zero getting in his attacks, but Scorpion's rage is just overwhelming for the very confused Bi-Han, and he is overpowered and ultimately killed via kamikaze pit spike.
Scorpion wins.
Then we have Mortal Kombat 2021, where the two fight twice, once at the beginning and once at the end. During the Lin Kuei massacre of the Shirai Ryu, Hanzo finds his frozen family, absolutely decimates some poor Lin Kuei, and then tracks down Bi-Han in the surrounding forest. The two have a brutal, close quarters fight, Bi-Han stabbing Hanzo with his own blade, but also getting sliced up himself. Bi-Han comes out the victor here, however, throwing Hanzo against the tree, and then shoving his own kunai into his shoulder.
Subzero wins.
At the end of the movie, Kuai Liang, Scorpion's descendant, summons him using his old kunai blade, and Scorpion shows up just in time to save Cole and fight the much more powerful Sub-Zero. The two have a sword fight for the most part, but Scorpion also uses his chained kunai, and of course Bi-Han with his ice powers. Cole ends up joining the fight, and we're just gonna ignore him, but you know, put an asterisk on this one cause he did need help, but ultimately he defeats Sub-Zero, toastying him up.
Scorpion wins.
Now we're on to the second MK animated film, Battle of the Realms. They have a scuffle at the docks where the Cyber Lin Kuei are also there trying to capture Scorpion. However, Scorpion never actually throws back, it's just Sub-Zero attacking him, so this will not be considered under the rules. The second encounter they have though in the Kamidogu Temple will count, where they first fight across these bridges with wind elevator things, and then into the hall with the Earthrealm Kamidogu. This one's a little weird to judge, but I do believe Scorpion is the winner of this fight, as in the hall he does end up overpowering Sub-Zero. Yes, Sub-Zero ends up on top of him, about to kill him, but Scorpion really let him do that, and the back and forth was over by then, so I think this is a Scorpion W.
Scorpion wins.
Now on to the TV shows, beginning with Defenders of the Realm, where Scorpion is at Shang Tsung's resting place and intends to resurrect the fallen sorcerer. Sub-Zero appears and the fight is very brief. They both charge at each other, so it does count as a fight since there is intent to attack from each, but Scorpion kicks him once and Sub-Zero is just done. Getting on to Conquest, they fight twice, once in a forest after they are enlisted to team up by Shao Kahn, but unlike in 1995, it doesn't go very smoothly. The fight actually ends in a stalemate as they are interrupted, so I'm gonna go full boxing judge mode and decide a winner between the two. And after careful consideration, I give the victory to Sub-Zero based on landing the cleaner, heavier blows that are making Scorpion do flips and stuff, especially near the end of the fight before it stopped.
Sub-Zero wins.
But then they have a true fight later on with more bad blood as each have killed someone close to the other. The fight is actually really good, with the two using their abilities frequently and fighting all across this little town, smashing through walls, crashing into stuff. It's a really fun scrap and definitely Conquest's best fight. Once again though, this one ends in a bit of a stalemate. Scorpion has got Sub-Zero with his weird snake thing, but Sub-Zero freezes and shatters it, so both are kinda injured and on their knees, and that's when Kung Lao shows up and the battle is stopped again. I definitely give the win to Scorpion this time though, as he just has more moments. Sub-Zero has some, but Scorpion definitely seemed like he was doing more damage with his big attacks, sending Sub-Zero flying and dazing him several times.
Scorpion wins.
Moving on to Legacy, they fight once in each season. In the first season, this is technically Quan Chi, but it's the same powers and stuff, so I'll just count it anyways. But basically, Sub-Zero has lured Scorpion away from his village, killed his shogun, and now they fight as a distraction from the Lin Kuei's massacre. They have a decent fight, maybe a little too much slow motion, but they do a lot of cool flips, kicks, Sub-Zero does some ice attacks, but Scorpion finishes it off with his get over here move, followed by an uppercut. So Scorpion takes the win here, though it's ultimately cheap-shotted by Sub-Zero later on, which is how he dies.
Scorpion wins.
In the next season, they fight as a tournament matchup, with Scorpion believing Sub-Zero to be the one who killed him and his family, though this time there's the whole weird thing of them being allies and childhood friends. It's Legacy. This fight is definitely better than the first, with Scorpion now having his Hellspawn abilities, and generally, he's getting the better of Sub-Zero, who's just kinda bewildered by what's in front of him. Scorpion manages to get the jump on him, killing him with his own fatality. RIP.
Scorpion wins.
And that's it for the TV shows. The last bit of media we have to cover is the comics. Starting with the Malibu comics, the Mortal Kombat comic from December 1994 basically begins with Scorpion fighting Sub-Zero. Scorpion's kunai is a little spiked ball for some reason. Scorpion attacks him with a spear, his toasty move, but Sub-Zero defends both. Sub-Zero then freezes Scorpion and shatters him.
Sub-Zero wins.
The next time they fight is in issue 6 of the MK Battle Wave comic, where they battle as the Earthrealm and Outworld fighters are going at it. For some reason they talk about themselves in the third person, and this is also the most brief and undecided fight in this video. There are 2 panels you can see them fighting, one of which is in the background, and it appears they miss both their attacks. There's no clear winner here, but only one person throws an attack that seems to touch the other person, and that's Scorpion with his kunai, or spiked ball thing, so I'll give it to him.
Scorpion wins.
The next comic line we have from Malibu is Blood and Thunder, where we get a flashback of Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting, the one where Sub-Zero kills Scorpion, so that's a dub for Sub.
Subzero wins.
They do get into a little scuffle, but only Scorpion attacks before he disappears, so it will not count. And then in issue 4 of Blood and Thunder, Sub-Zero appears and kills Scorpion, kinda, but once again it's not a real fight and only Sub-Zero attacks. Also, for those who might look at the comic, no, this is not Sub-Zero at the beginning of issue 4, this is Hydro. They look very similar, so I don't blame you. Moving on from Malibu, the third part of the Brazilian MK4 comic by Trauma Editorial sees the 2 battle it out, with Scorpion generally dominating before actually killing Sub-Zero with the Toasty Fatality.
Scorpion wins.
And now for the MKX comics made by DC. The 2 fight once, this is after Hanzo has been restored from being a spectre, but after being sliced by Kano with the Kamidogu dagger, Sub-Zero becomes possessed and Scorpion has to stop him. The 2 fight, Scorpion getting help from Takeda, who takes the dagger away from Sub-Zero, allowing him to be freed of his possession. However, Scorpion's rage is too strong, and he continues to fight Sub-Zero, severely wounding but not killing him as Takeda prevents him from doing so.
Scorpion wins.
And that will do it. Every single time Scorpion and Sub-Zero have fought in all official Mortal Kombat media, or at least that I could find. If you know of any other times, then let me know in the comments down below. But now it's time to tally up the scores. In the games, the score is 9 for Scorpion and 6 to Sub-Zero. In the films, it's 4 for Scorpion, 2 to Sub-Zero. In TV shows, it's 4 to Scorpion, 1 to Sub-Zero. And in the comics, it's 3 for Scorpion, 2 to Sub-Zero. So in every type of media, Scorpion takes the edge over Sub-Zero. And if it even matters, this makes the overall record 20 to 11. So yeah, not particularly close. So that means the truth behind Scorpion versus Sub-Zero is exactly what you thought it was. Scorpion wins. Not exactly the most exciting of outcomes, but let me know in the comments down below. Are you rocking with the victor here, or do you resonate more with the underdog? Like and subscribe if you feel like, and that's wraps on this one, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.